Alright, so I'm going to hit start recording, and then the whole thing's going to catch on fire. Oh, that's what I wanted to do before, is I wanted to set the settings to make it a higher priority. But I don't... Oh, yeah, I do see it. Okay, hit... And then I move over to...
So GOG's trying to get me to buy games, and it's like, hey, you should play this game. It's called The Coma. I'm like, no thanks. It's probably one of those super interesting story games, but I'm sorry, it's called The Coma. All I can imagine is just sitting there, listening to people talk while you're in a coma.
Can you hop onto the Twitch and make sure that
yes,
the audio for you is coming in okay? Make sure it's really you. Get a prompt on your Nexus 10. Oh no. Okay, yeah. Send, I suppose. Oh, okay, it's over there. Let me go.
Alright, hold on. Just gotta double check this. Alright, maybe turn me up a little bit, but for the most part, I'm pretty sure my audio is coming through fine.
Okay. I have logged into the YouTube, so I should be able to get any YouTube comments that pop up. Alright, so I have access to the chat. I'm gonna minimize the video preview.
Alright, we're gonna pop this out.
Creator Studio. When was our last fanfiction theater? Oh, right. I just gotta up the number by 1.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it would have been last Friday's.
Yes, you're right, yeah. Okay, come on, computer, I believe in you. You can have whole 4 tabs open. I believe in you.
I don't know, it might catch fire.
This is possible. Something about bad please use keyframe frequency. Current keyframe is 8.3 seconds. Okay, keyframe frequency? It's set the audio. Oh, hot open. Okay. I guess a 2. Apply. I mean... Okay, keyframe interval is too high. Okay, wonderful. But my keyframe is set to 2.
What is Twitch saying to you?
Yo, I made it. Yeah, hi, King Isley. Yeah, you did make it. Kind of surprised you're here. We're still setting it up as I'm about to change the title of this too. This is the Fanfiction Contempt Theater Ubuntu Bootleg Edition. As I am currently not at home right now.
Suddenly goes down, it's because the laptop Sneaky is using has literally caught fire. We don't think that will happen, but he
It's
does
happened
have a fire
in the
extinguisher.
past, so there's no
Say,
guarantee
he
it
has
won't
a fire
now.
extinguisher standing by, so...
Okay. Ubuntu Bootstrap Edition.
Ubuntu.
Bootstrapped at Ubuntu. Alright, so... Okay. Work with me here, work with me. Okay, it still says bad video set. Okay, your changes are still safe. Okay, it's still giving me crap about this. Okay. Screw you, screw everything. I hate...
Moving on.
I hate everyone. Mom, Tito's... It caught fire. I know a bootstrap bill if that matters. No, it doesn't matter. So, I'm assuming since you're all here and the audio is okay, Atin?
Yeah, as far as I can tell.
I'm just going to assume that all of the stuff on my end's working fine, and it's Twitch, YouTube, and Restream that are having autistic screeching.
I was going to say, I mean, looking at the Twitch stream, now granted, you haven't moved anything at all.
Here, let me scroll up and down a bit. I mean, honestly, the video doesn't really matter too much, because it's not like I'm going to be scrolling or playing a video game.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
Again, yeah, I mean... The actual scrolling is in and of itself a little choppy, but
yeah,
the text is still perfectly readable, and that's really all that matters.
Alright, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. Alright, so let me do some introductions. Hello, everyone, and welcome, and thank you for joining us for this impromptu podcast of Fanfiction Contempt Theater, as I like to call it, Ubuntu
really
Bootstrap Edition.
It's still
it wasn't impromptu.
Time.
You know, I had no idea if I was going to be able to get half this shit working on the laptop.
No. Here's the thing. It's still our regularly scheduled programming.
This is true,
yes. It's coming out of, like, a shitty basement instead of the broadcast studio.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a basement right now. I bought this laptop 6 years ago.
Oh my God.
I'm running Ubuntu on it because Windows got too slow. I'm basically running beta versions of everything, really. So, I can't find my mouse. We're off to a good start. Okay.
That's the first thing that goes. The mouse.
Important question, does the porn folder work? Wink if yes. You'll just have to discover that on your own, I suppose, Devil Spidey. Okay, anyway, let's rock and roll. As always, I am your host, SneakyDevil, joined by Atin. And because it is only Atin and I today, as Max will, as usual, not be joining us, we will be doing a Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings crossover.
I would say, now, to be fair, this one isn't necessarily Max's fault, but he's still not here.
Yes, he's still not here. He's still abandoning us in our time of need. Of grammatical need.
To Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings is simply this.
Yes, Devil Spidey. Yes! You thought you could escape the pain.
The pain
anyway.
is eternal.
So, now this typically would have gotten my edgelord. So just imagine the edgelord scroll going across the screen.
Oh, good. What did this particular one do to earn the edgelord scroll?
Wizarding Wraith. The night Harry's parents died had a much larger impact on him than people knew. And now, thanks to the Dementors, that impact is becoming known. And Harry is being visited by an ancient warrior that is going to be his greatest ally. And possibly his greatest curse. His name is Talion.
By the way, I hate to ask that. Oh my God! I just realized what this is. I hate to ask this, but can you send us? Can you drop us the link?
Yeah. Yep. I will drop the link in. It is cringe lord indeed.
Just drop it in the chat. Like you don't have to. Don't make your computer deal with alt tabbing to Discord.
Yep. I'm just. Don't worry. I'm just sending it all out.
Yeah.
I don't actually have to alt tab the Discord. I actually do have a second screen set up specifically to display the fanfiction. So I can manage everything in the background still. So I did manage that. But it is all, like I said, bootstrapped and bootlegged. And I have no idea how long this will continue working. So, Basically the normal stuff, except there's no hardware guarantee. Anyway. Shadow of Mordor fic, but I couldn't pick that, so I chose Lord of the Rings. Now, this only already has 120 favorites and 130 follows.
First of all, I really don't believe there's not a section. Like, that was a AAA game.
Yeah, but the problem is it took place in the Lord of the Rings world, and I'm sure that if you went into the Lord of the Rings section, there is a games filter.
Yeah.
Fanfiction doesn't really like creating new categories if they don't have to. So anyway, you'll have to bear with me on my response speed in the chat sections, as I mean,
we don't want anything to catch fire.
Well, I mean, it's not even that. As I just have to scroll through multiple tabs if I want to catch what everyone's saying.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's get started. Hello all, and welcome to my first Harry Potter fic. As you can guess, this is crossed with Shadows of Mordor. No, I couldn't have guessed that, because you told me. But there will be some Lord of the Rings stuff in here. I hope so, being that it is a Lord of the Rings game.
Well, yeah, I would say, like this is something people seem to not understand. Okay. While Shadow of Mordor does diverge heavily from what actually happens, especially now that we know what's happening in the second game.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that far off the beaten path. It's not like, oh, the ring wraiths wouldn't have been there, or Sauron wouldn't have been, like, Gandalf is still there.
Yeah, everyone's still there.
Well, no, I mean, because Shadow of Mordor takes place during the Second Age, so people like Frodo's not there.
Well,
Aragorn's
yeah, no
not
shit.
there.
Yeah.
But I mean,
no, the important people are there.
Yeah, Elrond is around, and Galadriel's around. Like, it's not that hard.
Throughout, as it's Harry's enemies are going to be other wraiths. Both the ones you all know and ones you don't. It will also have minor crossovers, such as a person from here or there, or items, and some such as maybe Poison Ivy will show up as a forest spirit. Okay, I'm gonna finish the sentence and then we're gonna rant about this.
Yep.
Or maybe I'll have portions that are in Warcraft be mentioned and used. And there are maybe other items such as that throughout. Okay, so this triggered us.
Why don't we just finish?
Yeah.
Just finish the author's note, and then we'll get angry.
All right, fair enough. That's a fair enough statement. Any people brought in will have their talents from wherever they are from, but there will be a magical reason for their talents if they aren't natural talents. Please feel free to recommend things or people that you would like to see in this fic.
Something else to get mad about.
Yep. Moving on, I don't have all the bashings planned out.
Come on. Power through this.
I can keep going. But there are what I have decided, so you all who dislike certain fics can all be aware as we go. Ron, never gonna stop bashing until we get to a point where he's gonna have to die or be imprisoned. Draco Malfoy, gonna be bashed for a while before being forgiven.
Well, alright, there's something I'm gonna get mad about. Continue.
Urge to murder.
Crab
Rising.
and Goyle, same as Ron.
Snape,
the same as
Draco. Dumbledore, some, but undecided to what extent it will go. Fudge, oh yeah. Umbridge, yup. Honestly, like, some of these people you don't even have to bash. They're just trash people.
Unless someone wants me to pair her with Harry, which would need some good reasons, but she may be good looking under that stupid sweater and other heavier clothes. And Lucius, yep, the rest of the Weasleys are up for debate, except for the twins, since I won't be bashing them. Oh my god, how long is this entire author's note?
I want to murder.
Okay, so, going back to the start.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we're gonna have to actually not go through this whole author's note.
No.
No, I'm saying immediately. I'm saying we're gonna have to start right here and be like, just, okay, rant, move on, rant, because there is just so much here that I'm pissed off about already.
Like part of the story, because woohoo!
All right, so let's start with the important parts of because in bashing, I've seen it done before.
Whoa, no, come on.
No, I'm saying let's start with the important part. Okay, so when you're writing a crossover, in fact, when you're writing a story in general, it's okay to make references, especially if it's in a timeline where it's like that's feasibly possible that game existed in that timeline.
Or, and here's something else that can be fun. There was the Book of Unwritten Tales 2.
Mm-hmm.
That game was littered with references. Some blatant, some not. And most of the time they were all very funny and tongue-in-cheek. Like, in the Elf Kingdom, the Elf Princess, she's in, like, basically the Hall of Artifacts. And it's stuff, like, there's a holocron, and, like, Cloud Sword is in there. And,
yeah, no, like, Familiar Zero did that, too, with the vault.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, one of my personal favorites, Onyxia's head is in the trophy room, and she's like, oh, this was the head of a dragon that was threatening the land, and a team of 40 adventurers teamed up to take it down. But it was the strangest thing. A few days later, another 40 adventurers came by with an identical head.
Yeah.
And everybody is like, ah, that's a funny joke.
Yeah. See, that's fine. But if you're like, oh no, Poison Ivy's gonna be here, but she's gonna be a forest spirit.
Or we're bringing in potions from Warcraft, which...
Why? Why? Like, potions from Warcraft is... See, we both read the story, the geek story. We both read that story.
Yep.
And
or the weeb one.
Well, no, the geek one as well, because the geek one, the geek one's important with how he handled it. Because for those who are unaware, we were reading a story earlier in our previous episodes, and we were like, okay, this isn't actually that bad. And then we went and read stuff from that author on our own, and in one of his stories, he actually had Harry Potter, and he had Harry Potter using magic from other games, other popular games, and he was like, oh, well, you know, because it's magic, the more people that think it will work, the more it works.
Yeah.
And so he was like, oh, you know, Frusro Da, and, you know, Unlimited Magic works. Obviously, a parody of Unlimited Blade works.
Yeah.
Basically, the author was saying, these are both references and actual powers because magic screw you. Which is fine. But the key part there is he explained why those powers were in there, using in-world rules. He's not being like, oh, it's gonna be Poison Ivy. That's... No. Like,
now,
that's
you
unoriginal.
Could have a nature spirit that basically looks and acts like Poison Ivy.
I still have problems with that, sort of.
I know. I'm just saying. Like, you could have a nature spirit that looks like her and acts like her, and, you know, she could be named Pamela Ivy. As a... you know, Just use the character's actual given name.
Or alternatively, if they, you know, they meet they meet the Poison Ivy reference, right? And they're like, she gives them her name, and it's like, oh, that's way too hard to say. Can I just call you Poison Ivy?
Yeah.
Obviously, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. That's the reference. You know.
And I was gonna say, and that's the thing. That's just a funny joke. It's funny. It's a cute little reference.
Yeah, you're not coming in and being like, oh, this is just Poison Ivy, and it has all of Poison Ivy's powers. And it's just like, no, at that point, it's forced, and you now have to explain why this character is suddenly in this world. And as they continue to say, oh, some other characters might show up with all of their powers.
Like, because here's the problem. When you do a crossover, when you put someone in your game, you have to... I'm sorry, not your game. Your story. I mean, whatever.
Sorry.
When you take someone from one universe and you put them in another one,
Yeah.
You have to explain why they're there and what they're doing. So if you put poison ivy in, you need to explain to us how did poison ivy get here? Because, and now, poison ivy's here. This brings up an entirely different series of questions. Is Batman here? Are any of the other villains here? If they're here, why are they here? Are you telling us that Gotham is real in this universe? Okay, well, if it is, now you've got all the other Marvel.
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
DC.
now this needs to be a DC crossover. Like,
yeah, yeah. That is the main problem, is when you're bringing characters in, it's like, okay, well, are you saying their universes are connected now? Like, it's one thing to be like, oh, yeah, here's an elf using 2 scimitars, and he has a panther pet, and he goes by the name of Izzet.
And he's super cringy.
Yeah, like, oh, it's clearly a reference to that. Don't be like, oh, in a world where there's no dark elves, there's a dark elf, and his name is Drizzt. It's like, no.
I was gonna say, in fact, if you were going for the humor angle, you could have a small little house elf with 2 little, like, kitchen knives and a small black cat, and his name is Izzet, and everyone will know what you're joking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing I see, yeah, basically, yeah. But I do understand with some people, where they're drawing from others, like, I do this with the Dark Souls, is I do look at other games and whatnot with magic in them, and I'm like, okay, they explain it this way, can I adapt that to Dark Souls to explain, you know, the gaps?
Right.
And I'm not saying don't do that, because it's a good way to explain stuff if you want to explain stuff that people could pick up on because it's already popular.
Yeah.
But don't be just,
say,
oh, it's friggin' Onyxia. You know, oh, friggin' dragon aspect. No,
Yeah.
don't just be pulling actual parts from everything.
Well, I was gonna say, one of the things is, take books, whatever those books, take books,
yeah.
any pop culture things,
yeah,
that drastically change the way something worked, or the public perception of it. So if you take Star Wars and you look at what Star Wars, and Star Trek did a little bit of this too, but mostly Star Wars. You know, you look at Star Wars and what Star Wars did for the sci-fi genre.
Sure.
No more do people have to explain what FTL is. No more do people have to explain what nobody has to explain what a hologram is, because just about everybody's seen Star Wars and everybody knows what it looks like.
Yeah.
Or if you take certain magic systems, you know, and things like Harry Potter and the Dresden Files are to thank for this. You know, people understand what magic is.
Well, I mean, you can get away with shit like, thanks to Japan, you can get away with shit like, magic circles appearing in front of a spell, before a spell appears, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you flick the wand out, a magic circle appears in midair, and then a spell shoots out of it.
I would say, I mean, look at all the crap that happened in Doctor Strange. Like, they were very clearly pulling, influence from animes and that.
Yeah.
And guess what? That's totally fine.
Yeah.
That's a good thing to do. That's a smart thing to do.
If it works, then use it, you know?
Less work in.
Yeah.
And it's less work for your... And most importantly, it's less work for your reader. Because your reader doesn't have to go, okay, they said this and that, and I'm trying to remember this other thing. No.
Yeah.
So, that's fine. But directly pulling them into another universe... that's where you're giving yourself problems.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially because, like we were saying before, if you're just straight up putting in poison ivy, well, now you have to ask yourself the question. Now, the reader's asking the question, is Batman here? If not, why is only poison ivy here? How did poison ivy get here? And if you start including potions from Warcraft, well, okay, why are there Warcraft potions? Are there any other
like I said, because this is Harry Potter and because magic is the way magic is in Harry Potter, I would have accepted the explanation of, oh, you know, because I saw it and it's magic and I think it would work, therefore it would.
and blah blah blah.
But then he goes on, you know, I'm just gonna be taking chunks of lore and stuff from Warcraft as well. It's just like, okay, well, now you're crossing the line. But anyway, we've beat this part of the topic to death. Moving on to the bashing. I hate bashing.
Okay, no. First of all, let's explain part of the problem, and this is part of the problem with the stuff they said in the first part and the part with the bashing.
Yeah.
First of all, you're giving away far too much to your reader.
Yes, that is. Yep. Yeah, that is another thing.
That's one of the biggest problems. Like, all the other problems aside, telling us that Poison Ivy's going to be in there. Because here's the thing. If you hadn't told us that Poison Ivy was going to be in there, if you hadn't told us that you're going to have Warcraft potions, or that you're going to have other people show up, even if we
cameos, they're great.
Miss it, even if we don't miss it, and we're like, ah, that's that thing, it would have been fine. Because you haven't said anything about it, you haven't drawn attention to it, and it will remain a cameo.
Yeah.
It will remain a little in-joke reference.
But now it's not.
And in addition, saying, I've got these things that I'm going to bash. I'm gonna bash these people.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I've read and I've seen bashing stories, or stories with bashing in them, that were fine. But the problem is that when you announce your, or even plan on bashing X character, you're already putting them into a box of how they can act and how they get resolved.
Yeah.
Like, for Ron's a good example. It's like, okay, so Ron was a dick in 4th year, and he hasn't been that great of a friend, and he hasn't been that reliable. So therefore, he's gonna go off the frickin' rails every single time and just rant and rave and sputter and attack people, you know, randomly. Because that's what bashing is. You take the bad character traits of one character that you don't like, and you turn it to 11 because no reason, because you don't like that character.
It's like our very specific problem with people making the Dursleys Nazis incarnate, basically.
Yeah. I mean, and it's like, the other problem there is, like I said with the second part, is when you try to resolve their character and make them quote-unquote grow, they can only grow in one direction. The one that you're saying they can only grow in.
I was gonna say, because part of the thing is, you're not doing your job as because part of being a writer is when you write a story, whether it's yours or taking characters someone else has already established, your job is to tell their story, not your story, the character's story, and to explain that to the reader and to help those characters grow in whatever direction is organic.
Yeah,
and
like,
because now obviously I'm not saying
I've seen
specific characters to do specific things.
Non-organic. Yeah. Like I've seen, like, there's a point with fanfiction, especially because fanfiction, the point of for me personally, the point of fanfiction is the what if. I'm fine with authors being like, okay, the character's gonna act out of character for this one moment to set up this one main plot point that is going to be the focus of the story. I'm fine with that, as long as they explain, you know, oh, maybe they were really stressed that day, and instead of, you know, brushing it off and stomping away angrily, they turned around and snapped at the person. Okay.
Great.
You know, obviously, I'm not gonna be like, okay, well, I'm just gonna accept, like, Harry, like, bursting through a wall and being like, Avada Kedavra! No. There's no point in time, unless you have an in-story character growth in that direction, that Harry Potter's character would do that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and here's the other thing. Again, I'm not saying you can't have characters go in a specific direction, and to an extent, that is part of what bashing is. But the problem with bashing is
it's railroading.
There's a difference between I'm going to do this thing to make this plot point happen or to help see what goes in this direction, as it is I personally hate this character, so I'm going to make sure things go shittily for them. Or, in the case of Draco, and apparently Snape, things are going to go well for them. And this is another problem when I was talking earlier about giving too much away.
Yeah, yeah. They're gonna get redeemed.
No longer,
okay, well then that's great. That's dumb. You know, why are you telling me that already?
I'm no longer interested in Draco's arc or Snape's arc, because at any point when Draco's being a dick, I know it doesn't matter, because he's ultimately going to be redeemed. Because the authors already told me that.
He's not gonna die. He's not gonna suffer. Yeah, he's gonna be redeemed.
And also, ultimately, I am not going to care about Ron in the slightest, because this author has decided to make the most incompetent, evil, mean-spirited version of Ronald Bilious Weasley possible.
Yeah.
And therefore, and bad things are going to happen to him. The writer has straight up said, bad things are going to happen to him.
I think bashing can work.
I don't care.
Okay, so Isley says, I think bashing can work if done correctly. Merely accentuating the negative aspects of a character tends to turn them into a character who it goes from jerk to literally Hitler. That, and they never bring up any of the positive points. Well, that is what bashing is. As I said before, is that they basically take the negative aspects of a character. So, say Ron was, I don't know, dismissive of girls, you know, in his first year, when, you know, they take the whole him teasing Hermione as him being like sexist or whatever, and then the author like ramps it up to 11 and is like, oh man, you know, he's just like spits on girls and shoves them out of the way and like goes up to them and is like, yeah, you should suck my dick 'cause I'm a guy. And that is what bashing is. It is the purposeful enhancement of negative aspects of a character for the sole purpose of making them be a jerk and eventually having bad things happen to them for it.
And
now
again,
it's one thing for
sometimes.
Now it's one thing for an
fine.
author to take a character's personality in a different direction. Like, you know, say Harry doesn't meet Ron on the train. And, you know, so his personality doesn't take that exact path. And instead of being tempered down by Harry's, you know, humbleness or whatever you want to insert the reason there, he gets more arrogant, he gets more outlandish, he gets more grandiose in his claims and stuff. And he becomes a braggart and whatnot, even though he can't back any of it up. And, you know, he just gets more and more ridiculous, and then he does eventually start making those sorts of comments. That's fine. That's called character growth. And while it's called negative character growth, it's still character growth. The main problem is... That's part of the point
I was trying to make.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's more than fine.
The main problem is that authors start off with, like, them being literally Hitler because they dislike the character.
I was going to say, because look at this. This person, for whatever reason, like, I can understand disliking Ron. I don't understand why someone would hate him,
he's not a very likable character, no.
But I don't think but look at this. Never gonna stop bashing until we get to a point where he's gonna have to die or be imprisoned. So, first of all, that's gonna have a ridiculous number of effects on your story. And that's fine if you can handle them and you write them properly, but first off, that's something you gotta be aware of when you're saying, I'm gonna kill Ron.
Well, and then the other stuff, like here, like, oh, I'm gonna bash Fudge and Umbridge and Lucius. It's like, but you don't need to. That's like saying, I'm gonna write a Nazi, and I'm gonna make him even more of a Nazi. It's like, he's already a Nazi. People are already going to dislike them for being a Nazi. You don't have to increase their Nazi-isms for people to dislike them more. They're already setting themselves up to be disliked, to do bad things, to you know, get consequences to happen to them.
And this is, for me, this is a big problem with people on fucking fanfiction.com. Or just any of the fanfiction places.
Yeah.
Where is it? Yeah. Umbridge. Unless someone wants me to pair her with Harry, which would need some good reasons, but she may be good looking under that stupid sweater.
Yeah.
And then further on, now as for pairings, I have a few picked, but for now I'm only telling you all about Luna Lovegood, Susan Bones, and Fleur. I'll say that a couple of the picked ones are older women, and some are not from the Harry Potter, nor are they human. But speculation is up to you. Okay. we have a whole mess of problems here. First of all, this is an incredibly big problem because the author doesn't know where they want to go. I'm probably going to bash Umbridge unless someone gives me a reason to make her shack up with Harry. Then I guess I have to make her a redeeming character.
Well, see, the other problem there is that, they're taking suggestions from the comment section, and I've talked about this before with, in private with you.
Yeah. But
do not take suggestions from non-writers.
And more importantly,
and this is not to mean offense. Sorry, but this is not to mean offense. But non-writers do not see the big picture of your story. Like, if you have an idea of how the beginning, middle, and end of your story is going to go, and someone says, hey, you should add this, do it as, like, an omake like Max and I do in our Dark Souls story. Like, there's a lot of silly little ideas we have for these stories that don't belong in the actual canon of the story.
Yeah. I was going to say, and this further goes along with part of our point. An author, because the mere fact that you are going to take suggestions from the comment section means that, intentionally or not, you don't know what you're going to fucking do.
Yeah.
You can't write a good story if you don't know where you're going.
Now, to counterexample that, we, Max and I, had a rough outline for our Dark Souls story. We knew obviously we knew obviously we wanted to get to this boss, we wanted to get to this boss, we wanted to get to this boss, and we wanted to get to the end. We didn't know how we were going to go there, though. That was one of our main points in most of our sessions of writing, is how exactly are we going to get the characters there? Like, none of in Dark Souls 1, almost no motivation is given to you, the player, as to why your character's going to these places and killing these people. Besides, some guy told you to do it, so you're like, okay.
Fuck it, I guess.
So we actually, because we're writing a story and we're trying to have genuine character development, actually had to come up with reasons as to why these characters would be like, yeah, okay, we'll go here and do these things. And that's, that didn't impede us when we were writing our story. I mean, it is now because I'm a lazy asshole who's a basket case, but that's completely unrelated. It doesn't impede us as long as you know the key points of what you want to happen. Now, maybe getting there is going to be a bit more difficult if you don't know how to write it out, because not everything is neat and orderly as Dark Souls. Dark Souls is one of those few story sections you can write for where the butterfly effect pretty much means jack shit.
Yeah.
Because each boss is in their own sectioned little area, and all the monsters don't communicate with each other. In fact, a majority of them would kill each other if they found each other. So it's like, okay, well, whatever you did in Anne Orlando isn't going to affect anything outside of Anne Orlando.
Yeah.
Unless you, like, nuke it or something. Yeah.
But
yeah,
and I wasn't saying specific, like, no one. I'm not saying there aren't people that can't write without knowing what they're doing. Yeah, of course there are.
Yeah.
And sometimes it works really well.
Yeah, sometimes it does, yeah.
But most writers,
most people,
you need to know where you're going.
Yeah, most people.
You have to know where you're going, because if you don't, it can be very, very easy to get stuck and to experience writer's block.
Yep.
And, again, another problem that can come up, you can lose interest very quickly because you're like, I don't really know what I want to do.
It becomes more effort than you get enjoyment out of writing it.
Because if you know what you're going to write, I'm gonna write a story where Harry Potter has watched a bunch of anime before he goes to Hogwarts.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a clear idea,
Yep.
and you have at least in your head some idea of what you want to do with each year.
Yep.
And how that's going to affect him. Now, everything else may be completely unplanned, and that's fine. But there's at least some kind of roadmap here. And I'm not saying this author doesn't necessarily have a roadmap, but the fact that they're taking pairing suggestions, or the fact that they're like Umbridge is a pretty
that is actually a pretty key point, is pairing suggestions. I mean, it's one thing to have pairings, and I'm on the fence about pairings, because I do search for specific pairing stories, because I do want to see how people would run this, X relationship. But at the same time, I do dislike the railroading aspect of it, because it's like, okay, well, obviously it's a pairing. It's a Harry Potter Fleur pairing story. Okay, well, either they're going to meet early, or they're going to meet during the, tournament.
It's like when we were reading that one, I forget what it was. It was that one Harry Potter romance one that took place afterwards, and we were like, this isn't for us, but it's still perfectly fine.
Oh, yeah, toothpaste or whatever?
Yeah, something like that. But it was like, hey, so these things are going to happen. It's like, oh, will such and such find love? Or will they end up with such and such? Well, yes. The answer is yes, because you've told us that in your summary with your pairings or with your tags.
Yeah. Yeah, no, so yeah, pairings do take the suspense out of the story, unless the story has nothing to do with the pairing. And I mean, that's a poor way of saying it, but it's like, if the focus of the story, if there isn't an arc of, will he get her? Will they fall in love? Yes, obviously they will, if that's been a declared pairing for the story. So, if you do declared pairings, you should by no means have any tension, because there won't be any, getting them together. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying you can't have problems getting them together, but obviously don't like trying to ramp up the tension and be like, oh my god, will he save her in time? Well, obviously he's gonna save her in time if he's gonna boink her later.
You made that pretty clear.
Yeah, you've taken the tension out of that, so don't try and do any tensiony stuff with it. They can still have problems, but at the end of the day, you're still gonna know, okay, well, they're not breaking up because it's a pairing story. The other problem I have with this is that it's a multi-pairing story. And, clearly, people who have never been in a relationship are the only ones who are like, yeah, multi-pairings can work.
No, okay, I have seen people in multiple relationships where everyone knows exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
And if the important thing about that is, all of the people involved in that relationship, A, they have to know. They have to know, and it has to be completely unambiguous, first off.
Yeah.
And more importantly, they all have to, on some level, like each other. Not necessarily in a romantic way, but if there's 2 guys and 1 girl, or 3 guys, or 2 girl,
yeah, etc., etc., yeah. 2 girls, 1 cup.
No.
Various relationships.
No. Yeah, whatever the mix and match combination of your choice may be, they all have to like each other a hell of a lot. Like, they either have to be best friends, or they all have to be sharing a bed.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not going to work, because then someone will get jealous, or someone will get upset, or someone will have an argument, and they just won't think it's worth the effort to work it out.
Yeah.
If those things don't all exist, it's not going to work. That's why fucking stupid-ass anime harems are stupid, because
they always argue, and
it's like, oh, well, I'm Miss Prim and Proper, except when I'm in the sheets, then I'm Miss Freaky. And there's Miss super laid back and always down to do whatever, and doesn't give a damn what anyone thinks, but she's super shy in the sheets or whatever. Those are 2 pretty common tropes.
Yeah.
And those two those two hate each other's guts, but I guess I'll put up with you because I really want the MC's D.
Yeah, yeah.
Or V, whichever it might be. And the problem with that is, no, that would never work.
Yeah.
Because girl A and girl B would be fighting constantly over protagonist. And they would hate each other's guts, and it wouldn't last a week. If for no other reason than because the protagonist would be like, I'm not putting up with this no more. I'm done. One of you has to go.
And even then, I honestly do not think... Especially in... it's more believable in the Naruto world simply because it's like... Everyone for ninjas at least, everyone has a job where you could literally die at any second, including while you're in your home village.
So, yeah, play fast and loose with whoever. Like, what do you care? I'm just here to have some fun.
Yeah. Devil Spidey says his best relationship is 2 girls, 1 cup.
We can just ban him from the stream.
But anyway, I think the main problem, right, with this one is if you already have it set up, like, okay, I'm gonna write Luna, Susan, and Fleur all in love with Harry, and they like each other. Yeah, sure, whatever, fine.
It's a joke, boy.
However,
if we're gonna ban you, you're just gonna get banned.
I said nothing. No, you definitely said things. We all saw it.
It's right there.
As I was saying, romance is not something you mess around with in a story. It's not something you're like, oh yeah, he just falls in love with this person and just blinks that person. And, you know, unless it's freaking like, I don't know, not even Dryden. You know, unless it's like Playboy Millionaire, where he literally doesn't care about any of the people he's blinking, then there's going to be problems.
Yeah.
Because romance is actually a fairly significant part of the human psyche for the people that aren't psychosociopaths.
And sometimes even for the ones that are.
2 girls plus me equals heaven. Oh, I'm sorry, Devil Spidey, but it does not look like you'll ever get there.
I was just say, I mean...
I didn't mean to be the one that breaks
you
it to
would
you.
think that. Here's the thing, Devil Spidey. That's something you would think. But then you realize that's twice the money. It's twice the amount of complaining.
And you do not have twice the dick.
I was going to say, and you have to satisfy 2 people. And let's be real, most guys can't even satisfy 1.
Isley says some authors think some authors can pull off multi-pairings. Yeah, I have seen very well done multi-pairings.
Well, yeah, like
unfortunately,
saying,
most of those authors long since moved on to more complex stories, and everyone seems to think that they can pull it off. Yeah, this is definitely a main problem that I've seen, is that the authors that can... roofies. You had
to go there. Terrible human being.
Yes, I am. Yes, definitely, I've seen good multi-pairings, and Isley did bring up a good point. The people who can do good multi-pairings typically have a far more complex story going on than the multi-pairing itself.
Absolutely.
And the people who don't have more of a complex story going on, and it's basically the story can be boiled down to Harry's got a big magical D, and all the girls love him, and he's got some mojo, baby.
I was waiting for that joke to come up. It had to happen eventually.
I'm not that evil. Oh, Devil Spidey, you poor innocent man.
He may not be so innocent, but that's beside the point.
Anyway,
like
so
I was
yeah,
saying,
just
like in real life, yeah, they can totally work. No one's saying they can't.
But the problem here is, though, he's like, I will take suggestions for pairings. And that's going to throw off the story massively. Like, that is sending up the red flag of, I have no idea what I'm doing with my story, and I have no plan on how to do it. Because if you're like, oh yeah, I'll just accept anyone into the harem, which means You have no idea how you're gonna write them in. It means you have no idea how they're gonna interact with any of the characters, which means you have no plans for any of this, which means you're gonna have massive butterfly effects and you're just going to ignore them.
Or worse, you're not gonna handle them correctly or intelligently.
You can't stop the mojo, baby.
Oh my god, please stop. The accent is more painful than the quotes. Anyway, but yeah, so moving on for that.
Yeah.
Moving on from the
So let's see, starting in the summer.
I understand we've been angry about this for a while,
Yeah.
but that's because there's so much nonsense here, and part of the reason we do this is to complain about problems in fanfiction.
My ears are
overall,
bleeding.
and boy, oh boy.
Well, I mean,
Boy,
yeah,
oh boy,
the
is
key
this
key
hitting.
part here isn't actually to read the fanfiction. The key part here is to read the fanfiction that has the errors in it, so we can talk about this stuff. So hopefully someday someone hears us and goes, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't. You know?
As you say, if we do that for even one person writing a book or a fanfiction,
Yeah.
God help us, we will be the happiest people. We might be in our graves by the time this happens.
We will have
but
made
we
the
will
world a
be
better
happy.
place. Which is impressive for the two of us.
Yes.
But anyway, so yeah, moving on. Next summer, Harry's
this
third
is starting
year.
during the summer after Harry's third year. This becomes a certain
certain
incident
incident.
right before he began changing, and I wanted it to be at the Triwizard Tournament, which has to do with him getting Fleur, and because I want an audience. See, again, you're telling us way too much.
Yeah, you're basically saying, all right, so there's gonna be a big event and something big's gonna happen. Like, the point of an author's note at the start of a story is to allay any doubts that someone might have about the story. Be like, oh, don't worry, guys, you know, this cliche won't be happening, or don't worry, guys, if you're confused about something, it's all going to be explained.
Yeah, I was going to say, and in some cases, it's just to give supplementary little bits of information that it would be hard, annoying, and or pointless to write it. Like,
Yeah.
we don't need to know. You know, we don't need this big, long thing about it starting during the third year. Like, literally, if the officer noted
Not
just been
everyone
like, hey,
knows
this
how
is
to make
starting after the
descriptions.
third year.
Yeah,
This is starting during the third year.
You'd
be like, great, that's information we needed, and you gave it to us. We're a little annoyed that you didn't have a better way to give it to us than literally saying it to us, but we'll take it.
That is true, Devil Spidey. Not everyone does know how to give descriptions, which is why we are here. We are here for not just you, but the whole world.
Of goddamn idiots.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, honestly, making a description is hard. Making a summary is hard. Making a hook line is hard. It's all difficult stuff that just takes time or just raw talent. And very few people have raw talent. So it's not going to be more time, and very few people have the time. The whole world is sleeping or making babies. I can't disagree with this statement, because it is in fact 6 o'clock somewhere. Yeah!
Anyway. But, so, again, moving on for this,
And Isley, you have nailed the other reason why we do this. Isley says, reading all of this makes me feel infinitely more confident in my own borderline non-existent writing ability. Yes.
Hell yes!
Because just remember, no matter how bad you are, someone out there is way worse.
By a lot.
And they have
Margin.
posted their stuff. So you
don't
can
have to
too.
worry. Harry will be pretty OP since he doesn't need to collect heirlooms since Talion's sword is bound to him. And even though Harry will collect items, they aren't all keyed to his right path. Like, there's so much information that this stupid idiot's giving away. Like, so much stuff that I, as a reader, I don't want to know this.
Yeah, I mean, like, you could have gone into this story not having said any of this, And just being like, yep, no, Harry has the sword, it's bound to him, alright, moving on. You know, like, when he gets the sword in this story, be like, oh, you know, have him be like, oh, what happens if someone takes it from me? Do not worry, it is bound to your very soul, and you can summon it at any time. Oh, okay.
I was gonna say, it's like, just as I am bound to you.
Yes, yes, Devil Spidey, the fic itself has not started yet. We are still in the author's note.
It's a combination of that bad and we're that angry.
Yes, yeah.
The warning should be at the start. Yes,
yeah.
It should be. And we'll be altering the Lord of the Rings canon slightly. Well, I can't really complain about that, because let's be real, Shadows of Mordor took the entire canon.
We're that high.
Glass.
Yes, we are that high.
We're high on anger. That's a high.
High on endorphins. That's what gets released when you're angry, right? Adrenaline and endorphins.
Yeah.
So technically, I guess, yeah, we are high. Talion is not like blah blah blah. He remembers his life while he gains powers. Harry will gain abilities from Talion and gain new ones. Blah 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 with items. If my timeline is off in Muggle items or events, as I never paid attention to when Harry Potter right here, this line right here. I apologize if my timeline is off on some Muggle items or events, as I never paid attention to when Harry Potter took place. Then I apologize, but I'm just gonna roll with it. You want to see how you find that out? When does Harry Potter take place? Holy shit! Look at that! Wow, stop the presses, guys. It took me 10 seconds to figure this out. Like,
it was a Google search. Yeah, thanks, Devil. Yeah, Devil Spidey's got it. Use Google, you bitch.
That is we always talk about this. Timeline is a key part of any story, because timelines drastically change what technology the characters have access to, which, in case you were wondering, drastically changes how characters act.
Because you know what? If Harry Potter took place today, you want to know what they could do? Someone from America could fly over with a surplus M60 and put holes in every single one of the bad guys.
Yeah. Like,
now,
yes, they technically could have done that in the 90s as well, but the point being, not even it'd be harder. The point being is that, you know, for example, smartphones or something, the ability to just be like, you know, take a picture, text it, and send, you know, because later on, you know, Harry's gonna write a letter to his friends during the summer. No, he's gonna take out his frickin' smartphone and be like, yo, Herms, what up? Send.
Why are you not fucking talking to me, you fucking cunts?
Harry Potter plus Watch Dogs kind of thing. Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's probably a thing. But, I mean, like, my point is that, you know, it taking place in 2010 compared to taking place in 2000.
Dogs, there's not much difference between, you know, magic and hacking in Watch Dogs.
This is true.
So, you know, who knows? Maybe you could make it. Turns out all the members of DedSec are actually just wizards. They're
techno-wizards.
I was going to say, they're all just script kiddies.
Yeah. But no, like, technology is going to play a massive part in it. Prevalence of weapons, so the kind of security that occurs, you know, current societal opinions on certain things, like how kids are treated, how education's done, important things.
Yeah, like if you take like the way Harry's treated in the book, not child, despite what some people seem very convinced on setting up.
No, it is sort of child abuse.
It's I don't. It's certainly mistreatment. I'm not trying to.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Say that it's not.
You would be hard pressed to argue it was child abuse if you could not find any, physical injuries. Cause
like maybe he's going to have he's probably going to have self-confidence problem. Like obviously
neglect at worst.
But he was not underfed. He was not malnourished.
I mean, he's sort of. He might have been a little bit underfed. He might have been a little bit malnourished. Like I said, neglect at worst. That's not child abuse, though. He was fed.
I was gonna say he was fed consistently, at least twice a day.
Yeah.
And don't get us wrong. It's terrible. It's fucking horrible. None of it. We're not trying to say the Dursleys aren't shitty people.
Yeah.
They are.
We're just trying to say but that was the 90s. Nowadays, though, holy hell, would it be considered child abuse, and they'd be throwing, words at them left and right, and it would be on the national news.
I mean, it would be abuse, and it would be things like, and quite rightfully pointing out psychological harm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying, it's not abuse. I'm just saying in the 90s, they wouldn't have considered that abuse. It would be neglect at worst. Nowadays, with the oversensitive culture, it would be considered abuse. Am I saying it's better or worse? I'm of no opinion there, because
you're just saying it's different.
It's different. It would change things. Timelines are important. Knowing when things take place is important. It'd be like, having a story that takes place in America, and then being like, yeah, I'm just not going to put 9/11 in, even though, 9/11, the date actually occurs in that story. And because, I forget when it took place or something,
I was going to say, something like, I think...
Nowadays, a female would be the main protagonist. Yeah. A black female. Come on, Devil Spidey. Get your intersectionality correct.
Come on now. We're trying to keep that out of this conversation. But stuff like, oh hey, so I'm gonna set this during the '90s, but I'm not really sure who was president during the '90s, so I'm just gonna say Bush because I don't like Bush.
Yeah.
And I want this president no, it may not seem like this to some people, but based on who's currently president in America, changes a lot of things. A lot of things. And again, it's not hard to find out who was in charge when. It's called a Google search. This is not going to start immediately with him going back to Hogwarts once he gets his powers, but it isn't going to be dragged on and on before he returns to Hogwarts either. Also, there will be lemons in the future, but that is still a ways off and not till after the first task, which I have no idea how many chapter will be between now and then. I'm not British, so I have no idea if at times I have Harry and others from Britain speaking properly, so I'm just going to drop all the accents and such and use American English since I won't do British terms and such correctly, and I don't want to try to do Fleur's, Crumb's, or anyone else's since I'm going.
Okay, so that is that I did say this before, and they are correct in doing this. If they aren't going to do accents on one person or use local speak on one person, don't use it on anyone. Don't use any local speak. Don't use any slang.
I agree with. The author's saying, look, I can't write English correct. I can't write British English correctly. So I'm not going to, because I will just screw it up.
Yeah. Now, that is an important part. That is something you would include in the author's note to let everyone know. Be like, look, guys, I can't do British English. I don't know how to do British English. So I'm just not going to include any slang in here.
And that's fine. Because while it may mess with, quote, the suspension of disbelief a little bit,
and immersion,
we can just pretend, and immersion, we can just be like, we can just assume...
2 hours later, we find out he's not British.
You say we can just pretend they're saying Britishy things or whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter that much, and it will save people getting annoyed or yanked out of the story later on down the line. Because since we know there's not going to be any British English or any accents, we're not going to expect them.
Yeah. Naturally, I'm going to be putting my own spin on what happened in the Shadow Mordor story. I look forward to a continuance of the rumors. There is going to be a sequel, possibly at E3 this year. Interesting or cool to discover what Talion did after the events of Return of the King. Are you paying it?
Dumb motherfucker. This dumb motherfucker doesn't even understand what's going on.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't even understand. Is the fic finished? No, the fic is not finished.
The fic is only beginning, Devil Spidey!
The fic hasn't even begun. Now, he is doing an important thing here that I wish more people would do, but it's not exactly required. He is adding in a table of reference for words, thoughts, actions by creatures of power, words of power, etc. And it is important. It is important when you have multiple languages going on. It is important when you are crossing the English barrier, because there is British people, obviously, who write stories. And the Brits, for whatever reason, use single quotes for speech. And don't use any quotes for thoughts. And sometimes American authors don't use quotes for thoughts. And, you know, so including a table of reference is important if you're going to have more than speech and thoughts.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I didn't do it in Dark Souls either, because it is kind of obvious who is saying what, when, and how. But, I mean, I was planning, but we also did include a table of reference in, like, the first chapter or two, though.
Yeah.
Just not every chapter.
Well, yeah, that's just gonna say.
Has the guy finished writing this story? No, the guy has not finished writing this story. He's only posted 2 chapters over the past, 5 months.
Ooh.
So,
and each one's about 10K words.
1 hour in, we will now finally begin reading this story. I forgot when 9/11 took place, says Isley, in quotations.
Clearly, it happened in October the 43rd, the year of our Lord, 1841.
Exactly. Nailed it.
Of course.
October 43rd.
I was like, I'm obviously not going to say the actual date. I'm like, let's just say, what's the stupidest thing I can make up?
Yeah, don't you know that every 3,219 years, October has 44 days? It's the accumulated October seconds that don't go into the leap year.
Of course. It's very important.
Yes.
30th of February, dude. I think we may have confused poor Devil Spidey.
Oh, poor Devil Spidey. We have thoroughly confused him.
But that's okay.
Anyway, moving on. To become a wraith. England, number 4 Privet Drive, Harry's room. Harry lied in his bed, tossing and turning in his sleep.
Already! God damn! Lay! You stupid fuck.
This is true, yeah. Because he is using ing for the rest of it.
I normally wouldn't care that much, but
Yeah.
I'm already angry at this guy.
But after all of his previous transgressions, it's just like, dude, seriously. You spent so much time saying who you're gonna screw and who you're gonna screw over that you haven't put any time into the grammar.
You say you couldn't do a little bit of a grammar check?
Yeah. It had been a little under 2 weeks since he had returned from Hogwarts after learning he had a godfather that was framed and sent to Azkaban. Space. Space! Comma, space.
Space! The final frontier is. Oh, I'm sorry. Is that what we're not going for?
No, I'm gonna get a fishing knife. I'm gonna gut this son of a bitch.
Already angry. No, Devil Spidey. We come into these pretty calm usually.
You see, Devil Spidey, my secret is that I'm always angry.
I mean, you are probably. But that's the thing. We come into these relatively calm. We're hoping we find something good, but so much in the author's note was just bad. It was so bad. So now we're ready. Now we're ready to rip this guy a new one.
Meeting, said Godfather. Saved, said Godfather, from an army of Dementors. That is not how you do a list. And then had to say goodbye to him so he could hide from the Ministry of Magic. However, none of that was what was plaguing his sleep, ever since those Dementors came and close to sucking his soul out. Before his future self intervened with a Patronus, he had been plagued with dreams of another time and place, and had realized a few days ago they were memories of another person. Are you sure you're not just high? Like, really high? Like, really high? He was having one such dream tonight, the night that would change everything.
The night he discovered gay porn.
Yeah, indeed. The author's note were a fucking warning not to read it. It even had the word warning in it. Yes, this is true. We are not here. We are not here to read warning labels and trigger blocks. We're here to gouge our eyes out. At night. He transformed into a bat, and his life was never the same, and he became known as Man-Bat.
What a terrible night to have a curse, for he has become Vlad Dracula.
And his sidekick, Man-Bat, the ankle biter.
He's both of them.
Indeed. You've never seen Vlad and Man-Bat in the same room, have you? I thought not.
Dun dun dun! I'm sorry, we don't have a sound.
Now I really want just to see a Dracula-Batman crossover.
No, there actually was that. There's an animated movie of that. It's badass as hell.
Good.
Alfred
God, what have I done? You have unleashed
Sneaky. Alfred has to beat the shit out of infected Batman.
I am 10 out of 10 on this one.
Hold on. Let me find this for you.
The Dream. Okay, so I do want, before we move on, yes, there is a crossover.
You keep going.
Before we move on,
this up.
The night that would change everything. I dislike it when people make statements like this in their writing, because it is really shit foreshadowing. And I mean, yeah, it works fine, whatever, but it's like both.
Oh my god!
What?
I didn't know that they had Peter Stormare played Dracula. That's awesome.
Excellent. That's what I was saying. Foreshadowing.
I'm just gonna leave this in recording for you, so you can look at this later.
Excellent. Foreshadowing like that is like it's both pointless at the same time as excessive. It's like, obviously something's going to change tonight, since this is where you're picking up the writing. Typically in the first chapter, the big what-if change occurs. Because that's the point of your story, to hook the people in with your first big what-if change. Obviously, this applies to fanfiction only. But so leading up with that is both tension eliminating and suspense killing and excessive information, because obviously something's going to happen because of the way you've previously written the paragraph.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, and the planes were on a collision course, but the pilot had an idea, and it would change the events that were about to be unfold. Yeah. No shit. Anyway, ignoring my poor grammar at speaking and seizures aside, let's continue. The dream. It was pouring rain as Harry felt pain in his body, as he found himself forced to his knees by 3 dark individuals and hideous creatures, while a woman and a young man were near him, and grunting and screaming don't use slashes. Before he heard a sword being drawn, and the young man was forced to the ground as he spoke. Father, he stated with gritted teeth, and Harry could see the fear in his eyes. Harry was then surprised when he heard a voice coming from himself. Not gonna try and pronounce that. Look at me. I'm right here, son. I'm right here. So we're just gonna go through the opening cutscene of Shadows of Mordor.
Like, why do this?
Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah.
I understand. You're like, oh, I gotta set this up. People understand what's going on. Like, you don't have to go in depth in this. We've already seen all the drama.
Come back to me, Elf Lord. Talk to very voice. What is this place? He heard his body. See for yourself. Mordor. Now you believe me, Ranger. What happened to me? Banished from death. Curse that binds us together. Break this curse. Black Hand of Sauron. Blah, blah, blah. This is just the frickin' opening to goddamn Shadows of Mordor. Which I'm not going to cover then, because why would I cover it? Because if you know Shadows of Mordor, you would need to know this. And if you don't know Shadows of Mordor, it's completely not frickin' relevant.
Yeah.
As he did, he floated, awakened. Back in Harry's room. Harry bolted upright. Hyphen, I believe, right?
What? I'm sorry, what?
Harry bolted upright. It's either one word or there's a hyphen.
Hold on.
Yeah, no, it's one word.
Yeah,
Upright.
yep.
Sweating and gasping for breath in his bed, even as Hedwig cooed slightly to ease her owner/friend.
Stop using slashes!
Now, you can actually use slashes by typing out the word slash and indenting it, italicizing it in between words. You can do owner space slash italicized. The word slash.
Or
italicized.
you can do owner
Friend.
hyphen friend.
Yeah, I mean, you can do. I'm just saying you can use the slash in writing.
Yes, you can.
But you actually need to write it out, and it needs to be italicized. But it is actually a legitimate form of writing, which people apparently don't seem to know. While the night sky had yet to leave, Harry sighed as he wiped some sweat from his head and put his glasses on as he steadied himself, since the dream that was longer and seemed more real than any of the others. It was a lucid dream, mate.
Yeah.
He had dreamed of fighting armies of creatures and beasts and tearing through them all.
Do you have to do that straight into the mic?
Sorry.
Like, it sounded like you purposely put your face next to the mic for that one.
I really don't have an option where the mic is. It's kind of only in one position on my head.
Yeah. And even brainwashing some to serve him.
Fighting an armored individual with a large mace before shoving the broken sword into his face and tore it out, in proper tense. fighting a different armored figure with 2 maces. With 2 blades, before stabbing him repeatedly with the broken sword that was reforged into an ornate knife, and then a hooded figure that changed into an armored figure of death before killing that figure as well.
Okay, I'm sorry. We've gotta talk about this.
Yep, go for it. Yeah,
shit show.
Nail it, man.
Okay, first of all, this isn't how you do lists.
Yeah.
You have and way too much. And more importantly, what's the point of telling? We don't need to know that he killed all the bosses. We don't need to know that. And if you really think we need to know that he killed all of them, you could have just said fighting incredibly powerful enemies, or just the fighting an armored figure with a mace and others like him afterwards.
I mean, no, you didn't have to go that far. You didn't have to describe, like, oh, you fought armies and whatnot. You can always just do what the Fate series does when they do the whole, oh, the Magus is dreaming of the past servant. The servant's past, sorry. Just be like, oh, you know, and they awoke from a nighttime of battles, war, and blood. You know, stuff like that. So,
yeah.
Obviously, I mean, you get a bit more detail, battles filled with outlandish monsters and magic,
But this entire thing is way too fucking long.
Yeah.
You've taken a paragraph to say what should be at most 3 sentences.
At best 2. Honestly, at best 2.
I was gonna say best case scenario 2. The absolute most this should have been is 3. This is.
You know what the saddest part is? I think his author note was like 2,000 words alone.
Yeah, I was gonna say we can subtract 2,000 words from this chapter for the author's note alone.
Let's see. Okay, so we're just gonna speed through this because we are at 1 hour and 30 on this story. Relatives. He didn't tell his relatives. They would just no, improper use of colon. His few relatives would chalk it up to him being a freak. Improper use of colon. Sirius would contact him first before Harry was supposed to try and contact him. Semicolon.
I think this. I can't tell if this author's just using them correctly by accident or if he has a semicolon fetish. He's got a lot of semicolons.
It's not even how you use a semicolon, because
I know
it's comma. That's a comma there. If you're leading in with different things, it'd be like he hadn't told any about his dreams. Proper use of colon. His relatives would chalk it up to him being a freak. Comma. Sirius was supposed to contact him first. Comma. Lupin was the same. Comma. Dumbledore was out. Because he was busy. Comma. Hagrid was busy watching the animals. Comma. And his so-called friends hadn't written to him in weeks. That's how you would write that entire paragraph. It would be 1 frickin' sentence.
Yeah.
Also, his friends hadn't written to him once in the 2 weeks since school ended, despite claiming they'd write to him every week. Dude, it's been 2 freaking weeks. What if Hermione's parents just died?
You know what? What if they're on vacation?
What if Ron caught fire? Maybe he doesn't have his friggin' arms anymore, and you're just like, oh man, he's a terrible friend. He hasn't talked to me in 2 whole weeks.
Like, even ignoring that, maybe they're sick. Maybe one of them's on vacation. Maybe, there's a million fucking things.
Maybe someone shot his owl. Who knows? What if Ron is Hermione's half-brother? Devil Spidey, you bring up an interesting topic. What if Hermione is Ron's mom? Think about it.
No, no, that sounds like a fan fiction you read, and I don't want to know about it. Yeah, by the way, Sneaky, I am sorry, I was slightly incorrect. The Batman versus Dracula that I want you to see was the comic version, where Batman becomes a vampire to beat the shit out of Dracula.
10 out of 10, Batman. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, wow, wow, wow. Wow, that's an interesting twist. Anyway, so if you really want to read all of the Batman ones, there's Tales of the Multiverse, Batman Vampire, and Batman Elseworlds Volume 2, which involve all of the Batman stuff.
Neat. Timey-wimey bullshit indeed. Anyway, moving on. Harry shook the depressing thoughts away. Really, your friend's not writing you is depressing? Holy shit, kid, you were like basically neglected your entire life.
I was gonna say, and that's what's making you sad.
Oh man, these two people who kinda sorta didn't really believe me for a while and weren't really the best of friends during the hardest times at school. Oh man, I'm so sad because they stopped talking to me. Like I didn't frickin' see this coming. Anyway.
Even ignoring that it's stupid old wizard man's fault.
Yeah.
Like.
Pressing thoughts away, drink of water. Felt like something was watching him. Wand. Swish of air behind him. And found nothing. Harry looked around his room. Do not fear me, boy. The elf came out of the wall. Blah, blah, blah. Who are you? Giant friggity frackin' info dump that I'm not even going to bother reading. Blah, blah, blah. Sauron, Ring of Power.
I was going to say, because of course this guy can't be bothered to come up with a more original way than info dump.
More info dump. More info dump. Larger and more info dump, basically giving the author's idea of what happens in Shadows of War. Proceeds to mix up Shadows of Mordor, Shadows of War, and the Lord of the Rings trilogy. By claiming that Shadows of War is what allowed the Lord of the Rings trilogy to succeed. Jesus Christ. More wall of text, 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 more wall of text. Here we go. What does this have to do with me? He asked. You were like me, watched people over millennia, and I think we're so similar. Killing curse, ancient form of magic. The Lord of the Rings world is Harry Potter world. Okay. You know what, Devil Spidey? I'll make that for you. I'll make more wall of text a ringtone remix for you. And I'll charge $10 to everyone else who wants it. One should never misuse a colon. Thanks, Isley.
Indeed.
Blah, blah, blah. Then, okay. This is another thing I dislike. Then, asterisk, sigh, asterisk. This is not a text message. This is not a chat window. If your character is sighing, end quote, he sighed, begin quote.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. All I heard was, chat window. Can I get your ISQ number? No? No? What about your aim? Oh, please. You won't murder me until you're done with this author. And that'll take you months.
This is true. Blah, blah, blah. Attacked by Dementors. They weren't attracted to you because you're sad. They were attracted... Oh, hey, look at that! A proper use of a semicolon. They were attracted to you because you're my descendant.
Hold on. Hold on. I'm just gonna fill the chat with table flips. Everybody, flip a table in chat. Go on. Flip the tables. Anyway. Let's keep moving with this.
/ suicide. Enter.
Let's warm up the suicide booth.
What you call Dementors are in fact the modern day appearance of wraiths. That attack you survived with your godfather pushed you over the edge.
Okay, let's
and allowed me to contact you since they'll come for you now, and because you're my descendant, I can give you power. I thought the Dementors sucked out souls and fed on it.
Okay,
no, they don't feed on souls. They suck it out and then turn the soul into a wraith that serves the Dementor that sucked it out.
Okay. Let's pretend... No, let's not pretend. Fuck you, you're wrong and you're stupid. That's not how goddamn wraiths worked in Lord of the Rings.
It's not how wraiths work. It's not how Dementors work. It's just dumb.
I understand this is a crossover, so you've got to try to make some stuff work. But fuck you. Fuck you and your stupid idea. That's not how wraiths work. That's never how wraiths worked. Literally, the reason ring wraiths are ring wraiths is very, very simple. There are 9 of them, because there were 9 rings of power given to 9 kings of men. These rings had the unnatural effect of extending their lifespans. But the Lord of the Rings universe, death doesn't like it when people cheat. So the longer you live past your natural lifespan, the worse things get for you. The shittier and the worse you feel, and the more worn out your body gets. That's why Smeagol went from being a relatively normal hobbit to what you saw. And that was 500 years.
Yeah.
The 9 kings of men had those rings significantly longer.
Mm-hmm.
And they literally don't have a physical form anymore. Or if they do, it's basically non-existent. And that's why they wear a bunch of rags.
Yep.
I was going to say, the most powerful, and the one who had his ring the longest, the Witch King, I mean, you saw quite clearly, he basically had no physical form left. There was basically nothing left of him.
Yeah. Alright, well, let's keep going.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know we've ranted a lot, but I'm sorry. It bugged me too much.
Yeah, no, this is why you're here. Anyway, so this is the part that got me angry. They don't feed on the soul, they suck it out, and they turn the soul into a wraith, and blah blah blah. The Patronus doesn't actually stop them from feeding. It splits the wraith world from the mortal world within a bubble, making it so the wraith cannot cross it, and making it sealed off from the wraith world, so where the true souls reside. You're unaffected because you're still tied to the mortal plane, which is your body, while other wraiths are either just souls or allowed their bodies to be fully consumed by the wraith world, which is why I'm also immune, since I can be in the bubble but have no powers while doing so.
Alright.
Well, isn't that just convenient? Now, my main problem here is them saying, oh, let's keep going. Yes, Devil Spidey, we will. Now, my main problem here is him being like, oh, well, each soul that gets sucked out is another wraith. Okay, well, the main problem with that is the reproduction rate. Is they've literally been using this facility for literally hundreds of years. And they've executed a large number of people, especially during wartime. There would be a problem with the population of Dementors otherwise. And since there isn't a problem, either Dementors are dying or more aren't being created. That's it.
Yeah. By the way, I was slightly wrong about them. But yes, I am correct in that it's the rings and their corrupting influence, and it left the kings spectral. So while they do still have a physical form, they're invisible, which is why they walk around in giant bulky rags everywhere, so people can see them and be afraid of them.
Okay.
Yeah, and their lives and power became bound to the One Ring, and as Sauron grows or diminishes in power, so do the Nine.
Alright.
Which is why they disappeared for so long after Sauron got his ass kicked.
Yeah.
Because, well, if Sauron's basically non-existent, the Wraiths can't do a thing.
Alright, so let's get back to the rage. I'm here now because you need training and a place to do it to gain access to all of your powers, which is where I come in. What do you mean? I will do a form of magic that will attach me.
Oh my god, no!
Okay, so Talion is saying this. He's going to copy the elf and attach his soul to Harry's body. But this time, once your body is ready, all my powers, skills, memories, and knowledge will be yours, and I will pass on to be with my 2 wives and descendants that await me there. I'll also purge the tainted soul from your body.
Okay, there's a multitude of problems here. First of all, binding Celebrimbor getting bound to Talion took a literal blood sacrifice on multiple levels. I don't know if it was necessary, but it was Talion's own flesh and blood who died, and it was also a loved one who died. So it was so it could be that both or neither was necessary. And let's not forget the fact that it was dark magic.
Yep.
Really, really dark magic. How do we know it was dark magic? Gee, I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that Sauron was doing it. Call me crazy, but I don't think you'll catch him at the Council of White Magic proposing new ideas. Unless they're, hey, you know, darkness is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just saying. But sure, yeah, Talion can just teach him a way to bind himself to Harry, but also move his soul on at the same time.
And not only that, but also set up a spot to torture him at. I mean, train him. Anyway. Blah, blah, blah. Appear Voldemort is inside your head. Blah, blah, blah. Voldemort. Blah, will never die. Blah, Horcruxes. Blah, blah, blah-y. You face the basilisk and live through its venom. My boy, that's good news. Thanks to your stats for the Dementor, your body probably kept some of the venom and has been magically altering your body.
Oh my god, can you people stop?
Which means that your body will be immune to any poison or venom that isn't more potent than a basilisk. And since they have one of the world's 3 most potent venoms, you're practically guaranteed to be protected. if a human... Okay, so Isley says if a human is possessed by a Wraithbones someone, is that a threesome? I guess? Anyway. You ready to keep going?
Yeah. Let's power through this pile of garbage.
Indeed. Back on track, blah blah blah, relative, shopping, money, trunk, bonding, moving soul piece, wait, I'm pretty sure he doesn't know that much magic. Like, I always thought, yeah, no, there's not that much magic in Shadows of Mordor, or any Lord of the Rings stuff, really.
I was gonna say, again, Lord of the Rings. The only people that get to do magic are literal angels.
Is there anything?
They're either evil angels or good angels, but they're angels.
Yeah. But don't worry, Talia knows how to do an ancient elf ritual.
I'm sorry, the human knows an ancient elf ritual. Interesting.
Yes. It's because he saw it done before when he was secretly a Valar who's been reincarnated as a butterfly. Scorpion. A butterfly scorpion.
Just finish this.
Okay. Should I bring anything with me? No, but get Dobby. You could pay him instead of binding him. I'm pretty sure you need to bind him, because I'm pretty sure somewhere along the lines they did make that canon where elves kind of died if they weren't bound.
Yeah.
But anyway, the next morning, Dobby, hey Dobby, pack me up. Dobby would be happy to help. Old ancestor, is that him in the wall? I've come. Wow, this is very un-Dobby-like speech, and not only is it un-Dobby-like speech, which I can forgive, because writing any elf, house elf is just a bitch to do. Very articulate, though. Like, if you're not gonna do elf speech or house elf speech, at least don't be using big, massive, out-of-character words, you know? Yes, Devil Spidey, do not worry, we are only doing the first chapter of this.
I was gonna say, the fact is, we're only doing the first chapter of this because we've spent 2 hours on this. We're out of time. We're not even halfway done with this bullshit, and we're out of time.
Yeah, anyway, so, blah blah blah. Dobby, ancestors, ghosts, going, shopping, London, shopping, blah blah blah, no funny business, blah blah blah.
Wait, who's saying no funny business?
Vernon.
Oh, right.
First step was Gringotts, grip hook, vault, 500 gallons. Charmed money into a bag that grip hook gave him. Of course, the such helpful goblins. Good afternoon, how can I help you? By Merlin. Shopkeeper named Tobias stated as he started saying before seeing Harry there. I'm looking for a storage trunk.
I'm sorry,
to blah,
is that
blah,
supposed
blah.
to be a reference, or... Because if it is, I'm not getting that.
No, I'm not getting either, don't worry. Blah, blah, blah. 700,
Two stories
but for
house
you...
worth of items. The ebony ones on the left are multi-tier that have at least 5 compartments each and can hold the same number. All of them can be shrunk to fit inside a pocket without harming them or the items they contain. Okay, Mr. Harry Potter expert, you want to take this one?
Okay, I'm not quite sure. There is no canon on this part. There is item shrinking, so that you can shrink a chest.
Yes, I know that.
There is multi-room chests, but we do not know if you can shrink a multi-room chest. One would assume no, because that's a lot of different magics that deal with space clashing.
I was gonna say, as big a problem as it might be sometimes, D&D has a pretty good take on it. Do not combine dimension-messing magics, because when you do, you open unstable portals that you don't know where they go, but they lead to death. I'm gonna put my bag of holding inside my bag of holding. Congratulations, you destroyed half the universe.
Actually, I don't think that does anything. I believe it just, you cannot put a bag of holding with stuff inside it inside another bag of holding, but you can carry a bag of holding with a bag of holding.
Okay.
But it is portable hole inside a bag of holding. Because you can do it the other way around. You can put a bag of holding inside a portable hole. But the second you slap a portable hole onto a bag of holding is when you get problems.
That's right. I'm sorry. I was misremembering. However, my point still stands. You don't fucking combine them.
Yeah, no, you don't do that. I mean, unless you have, say, an intercontinental means of delivering it. You know, just throwing that out there. Ballistically, so to speak. Anyway, we're getting off topic. Blah, 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 chests, blah, blah, blah. I don't know how economics work. Blah, blah, blah. Italian says you should buy more shit. Why is he not surprised by all this magic? Who the hell knows? Author says so. Art of drawing.
Presumably Italian's been around for a very long time since, I mean, he knows who Harry's... Presumably he's been following all of his descendants.
This is true.
So he's just like, oh yeah, this is all normal.
Okay, so get some clothes. Woman nodded. How are you? Can I get you today, Malkin? Wondering if you can get me clothes. What are you looking for? Sure, I can get you these clothes. Wait here. It's okay. Hold on. No, I realized he felt a bit taller and a bit more filled out. It's being around me. My presence is making your inner wraith awaken and is fixing your body.
Oh my god! After this, we're both just gonna go drink. That's what's gonna happen.
It's just,
like, the stream will end, and we're both just going to go get as smashed as humanly possible, possibly beyond if we still remember.
Yeah, pretty much. Drink till you forget.
Watch the obituaries for people who die of alcohol poisoning.
Pass aloe vera all over your body. I don't even know what that's supposed to do, but that sounds dumb, so I'm not gonna do that. Before too long, changing rooms gave him a regal look. Giggled at the girl's reaction. I think it suits you. Oh yes, now he's the snappiest. Mind me, Harry, why didn't your relative take you to train before now? He didn't know about me until my godfather contacted him. New serious. Framed. I thought he was guilty of murders. Sentenced without trial. Ha ha ha. Shocking everyone that came into the store. Pettigrew is alive and is in hiding. Do you have anything to support these claims? Oh yes, the clothing lady is somehow going to become Harry's lawyer in a second.
Are you fucking shitting me?
If the so-called trial beyond records, I have my own memories. Pettigrew claims, blah blah blah. Eyes flashed. Everyone noticed it. And the bastard admitting that he betrayed me. Could you meet me in a few days to have an interview and convince your godfather to come? Oh, there's apparently he stopped. Apparently, at some point in time, he wasn't talking to Madame Malkin anymore. He was talking to what's her face Bones, Amelia Bones. Apparently, the director for the magical law enforcement just showed up conveniently while Harry was getting clothes, and was there long enough to hear him ranting about how the DML didn't give his godfather a trial.
And she's just gonna magically be ready to fix that.
Yup. Harry, how did you not know? I was raised by muggles who kept me in a closet. Look into your godfather's case. I'll see what I can do. It should be fine afterwards, since there's no law against breaking out of Azkaban. Alright then, I'll you a time and place. I read somewhere you can pull memories.
So that I can bring all of my orders.
And that was well played, Harry. Should she prove corrupt, you have many witnesses. Ride home was quiet. He wrote a letter. And Dobby, do you know where Sirius is? No, but I can find him. Give it to him then. Got a response back from Sirius, from Dobby, technically speaking. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, sure, I believe you. I'll come with you. Blah, blah, blah. Education. I want you to be the new Marauder. Proper use of asterisk.
I'm getting so upset.
P.S. Blah, blah, blah. Wall of text. Wall of text. The lady is Voldemort's mother. Wall of text. Wall of text. Wall of text. Da-da. So many big letters. Wow! It's a double wall of text all the way, man. So many words. More friggin' walls of text. More walls of text. Dobby came down and marveled in Harry's power. And Harry knew he could wield this power for good. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know how long this is gonna take. Blah, blah, blah. I'm just a fish.
My soul is dead.
Alright. We finished this. It's nearly 2 hours now. God, you know the drill. Just don't miss. I have not seen anything with Shadows of Mordor. Talion, the ghost that's now merging with Harry to make him a wraith person, is in fact part of Shadows of Mordor. Anyway, as I was saying, thank you all for joining me today and listening to me rant for 2 hours straight and only near the end actually get any progress on the actual story. But, yeah, so you actually stuck around this long. I'm impressed. If you enjoyed it that much, you can head on over to the YouTube page where everything is archived in a big old fuck-off playlist. If you want to catch us live, Tuesdays and Fridays at 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. However, this is a key thing. I will not be here probably next Tuesday, as I'm going to be continuing my travels.
And unless I can get Max to join me, we will not be doing solo casts. We've seen how well that goes in the past. Here's a tip, it doesn't go well.
It doesn't, yeah. Let's see, final words from our audience. I just thought of something. This is from Isley. I just thought of something. Is Harry Potter and Loader share the same universe? How do you explain things like house elves? Fuck you, that's why. Isley, did they just say there's no law about breaking out of Azkaban? Yes, they did.
Yeah, they did.
Technically speaking, there is not. That is, in fact, canon.
Because they figured no one would.
I mean, it's not even that they figured no one would. It's more like they figured, if you actually broke out of Azkaban, what are we gonna do to you? Like, how are we gonna capture you, you know?
We can't, I mean, we can put you back.
But you'll just break out again. You know. But anyway. You're not available. Yeah, I know, it's a shame. Don't worry, we're not available for that Tuesday either. Our next official cast will be likely on this upcoming Friday of next week.
We apologize to all you wonderful folks that aren't going to be.
Yes, so sorry for the lack of a bi-weekly schedule in the past week or two. 3 weeks in total, I suppose. You know, it's just what happens when you travel and you don't really have access to any power ports or good sources of Wi-Fi that don't cut you off on purpose because you're not paying the extra premium value.
I was just say, or because you don't have a laptop that won't catch fire.
That as well. Anyway, so I believe that is it. Anything else to add? Nothing.
Kill me now.
No, kill us now. Yeah.
Make the pain
remember,
end.
kids. I am SneakyDevil, and this is Atin.
This is Atin.
Don't do drugs. Murder is bad, and only steal if you think you can get away with it. Peace.
I wasn't supposed to be killing people.
What the hell? Exit OST.